Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Energy MD podcast. Well, as you know, we help people with chronic fatigue, long COVID, MCAS, and other mystery symptoms get their lives back. And we do this by focusing on what the real root causes are. And oftentimes you'll hear me talk about the toxic five, which are heavy metals, chemicals, molds, infections, and trauma. And one of the things that we've been looking on and that I've been examining is how to get over trauma in different ways. So there's a number of different programs that are out there. But one of the things that I've been examining has been the use of different psychedelics and different plant medicines that I have found to be very interesting, very helpful for me, and very helpful for people in my community. So I'm really excited about interviewing some new and good friends of mine today. We're going to be learning a little bit more about ayahuasca. I recently went on an ayahuasca retreat that was led by these beautiful souls, Kat and Francisco. And so we're going to be talking to them today and learning a little bit more. So first, let's learn a little bit about them. So Francisco and Kat work closely with ancient wisdom holders as bridges between the ancient and modern worlds, specifically bridging between the Andean and Amazonian indigenous knowledge ways and the modern Western world. Both spent over a decade living in Peru on their personal journeys of learning, exploring, and working alongside indigenous wisdom holders. They are dedicated to the plant and consciousness path and to the expansion of human consciousness through ceremonial immersions. Francisco is originally from Chile and has explored alternative healing and consciousness expanding practices for over a decade. He is dedicated to the facilitation of sacred ceremonies and music. He weaves experience from his world travels and studies to his work with Amazonian indigenous leaders and spiritual guides. Kat is from California and works as an herbalist, plant spirit guide, and sacred ritual weaver who immerses herself in alternative wellness practices, nature-based rituals, yogic philosophy, and plant and human consciousness. Kat has worked with sacred ancestral knowledge ways for over a decade. She is dedicated to learning from and sharing the ways of ancient wisdom holders. Kat and Francisco, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, my
Thank
brother.
you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes.
So as I mentioned, I recently went to one of your retreats and it was really transformative for me. So I'm excited about sharing this information with our audience. So I think let's first talk a little bit kind of about like overarching information just for people who aren't aware of ayahuasca and some of this plant medicine. What is it? Let's start there. So what is ayahuasca?
All right. So ayahuasca is a brew. It's a mix of two plants mostly. Ayahuasca is a Quechua name. It's a name in Quechua that means that something that is dying have to rebirth. This is the meaning of ayahuasca. Why is in Quechua? Because it became super popular in the Inca Empire. So it got extended with the Quechua, that was the language of the Inca Empire. Now ayahuasca is a brew. It's a brew that is in the Amazon rainforest, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, and Bolivia. All in these areas you can find ayahuasca, and there's different cultures attached to this. Ayahuasca is a practice. It's a cultural practice in where basically all the village get together around this beautiful brew, and they share in community, exposing themselves a bit, showing themselves vulnerables, and also sharing in joy or any emotion that can come with the medicine. No? Basically, there's two main elements in the ayahuasca. We have the vine, that's called ayahuasca, sipo, have different names according to the place in the Amazon rainforest. Jagube also have different names. And the other element is the chacruna, the leaves of the chacruna. So we boil these elements, and after a lot of practice, hours, sometimes days, a lot of songs, we have to pray over the medicine so the medicine get charged with really beautiful energy. And then after days of cooking this in a proper way, we have the magic brew of ayahuasca. No? So these are the the different elements of the medicine.
Excellent. So you have the brew, and then what happens when people consume the brew?
So basically, a lot of things happen. The the first thing that happen is the chemical interaction, no, that we have with the body when we drink it. In the stomach, we have some enzymes that blocks basically the absorption to the stomach of the DMT. So basically, the ayahuasca, what it have, the vine especially, is that send blockers of the blockers of these absorbing DMT substances, these enzymes. So block it and allow the body to absorb it slowly through the digestive wave. So it goes all the way, the DMT, and start to create these experiences in where we can be connected with experiences from us, from the past, from the future, from the present as well, things that we're passing through, and the different situations in our life, no?
It's also, there's like the physical part that happens, and then the brew is also, you know, from the worldview that the medicine comes from, it's also this living spirit, right? So the ayahuasca is a blend, a brew of different plants, but the ayahuasca, the brew itself has what they say a spirit or an energy. So oftentimes it's a highly intelligent plant, and that's why everyone's experience is so different. It's so hard to say, like, you drink the medicine and this happens. So one is based on the different, the medicine's very tied to music and rituals. So it has to be done in a particular context to activate properly and have a safe experience. And so depending on which tradition you're in, the experience you're going to have is going to be very different. They also brew it a little bit differently. The energies that they work with, that they bring through and open with the music, which guides the spirit or the energy of the medicine in your body, is going to be very different depending on the tradition. So generally what happens with this highly intelligent, you know, medicine, it's not like you drink this and it does this. It's it goes into your body and it sees where there may be like blockages, stuck energies, physical, energetic, spiritual healing that may need to happen, creative blockages as well, or perhaps like a need to go back in time to an ancestral energy that you're still carrying in your body and kind of clear that. So there's so many different things that can happen, but basically it gives us this moment where time kind of stops in the normal sense of it, you know, like time, we can expand or contract time and in these moments. And so you can go in there and really see things from a different perspective. It guides you into a deep knowing of self. So it's a very deep inward dive, and that's going to look very different for everyone based on their ancestral history, their lived experiences, and everything between. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I found is that personal development is really essential to getting better from anything. You know, it was a big part of my journey in getting over my chronic fatigue and my wife's journey and countless other people in our community. And so I really appreciate you bringing that to light and the different levels of healing. That healing is never just physical. It's also mental and emotional and spiritual and ancestral, you know, which is really interesting. That idea that oftentimes, and there's definitely research on this as well, on that oftentimes we carry things in our genes. You know, the fact that my grandparents had to flee Germany during the Holocaust, that sort of stress, you know, is in my genes, and consequently it has an effect on my life. Is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of the ancestral healing part of this?
I think you said it really well. You know, there's oftentimes we'll have emotions or even deep physical pains or things that manifest physically or emotionally that we just kind of like, if you stop and think about it, you don't really know where it came from, you know, and you do all the things like possible available to us to, you know, maybe all the traditional medicine and all the alternative tools you go through, like the breath work, you might go to physical therapy, you might do acupuncture, you might, who knows, you know, you go to all these different things, you can't quite capture what it is and just stays with you. And so that's where the medicine comes in. And what it really does, it's not that it gets rid of it for you. It's a co-creative process where it gives you the clarity to see what it is and the tools in the moment to make the decision to release. If you're willing and ready to go there and work with the medicine also will only take you as far as you're ready to go. So sometimes it will give you clarity and insight into something you're carrying ancestrally, but not necessarily, it'll just start the process gently, you know, because sometimes this can be very disruptive to someone's life. So it will start the process for you. And then over time, it will continue to unfold in a way that you can integrate into your life.
Yeah, I would love to add also that I like to put it in terms of an example, no? Like our family being carrying a package, no? It's a package that each one of our ancestors been adding stuff over there. And probably and mostly, at least in my families and the families that I've been knowing through this project, through this work, there's no one taking care of doing the process of healing in any of the families. So normally it's us, the one that we're doing this hard work. So I like to put it in terms that we receive this package right now, and thanks to the medicine, we're able to open this package to get awareness of this package, ancestral package that our families are delivering to us, and taking out all the things that are not useful for us, nor even for our descendants, nor for our ancestors, nor for anybody else, not trying to guilt, not trying to, see responsibles for these things, just in the present, focus for the future and where you can take the things out, close the package, and do the same thing that everybody do, giving this package to our kids basically, and then the kids will continue delivering this package. And yeah, I like to put in this example, no, because want it or not, we received this, no, in the Indian culture they call it the karma, this and the karma and the dharma, the end of the karma, no, in basically is this package, no, where they calculate that basically our life is determined between 60 and 80% about what our families and our ancestors did. Makes sense for me because for sure, like we received this. It's an heritage. It's a cultural heritage that want it or not, we have to receive. So I think the ancestral healing start to happen, people say 7 generations forward, 7 generations before, because of these elements, no, in where we're able to open this package and say, hey, I know my family is like that. I don't think this is proper to do. I don't think this is a good way. I don't think this is a good behave. We're gonna modify this. We're gonna evolve a bit this behaves, and we're able to close the package and continue giving it a bit lighter, no, for our kids also.
We leave the stuff behind, we set it down, and we move forward. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that example. I know some people that I've spoken to, they have caution about that package or whatever other packages that get opened, let's say Pandora's box, and that it can put them in a worse place. That there's obviously, people's experiences with LSD and other psychedelics that kind of get them stuck in some sort of loop or open up something that people aren't ready for. Is there a way to prevent against that? I know that you guys have a very gentle way that you do things, and I know my first experience was very gentle, but how do you prevent, I guess, negative trips or negative experience from happening, understanding that also having uncomfortable things or being shown uncomfortable things is kind of like part of the process? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, well, this is the 2 elements that you're mentioning, no? Sometimes we have to differentiate, make the difference, no, between a bad trip and I think a hard trip, when you have to pass through something that you have to do it, and it's not comfortable, but you're gonna do it, and you have to do it. This is a different than a bad trip. A bad trip is when a person feels basically that is not supported in a place, and it's too overwhelming, and they don't have the tools to navigate that, and there's no one to go to find some guidance in this. I think your journey can be hard, your journey for sure, because this is about opening our awareness to the things that we don't want to face in the normal life, that are creating all these blockages. So basically, it's not hard. Sorry, it's not easy. It's a bit hard to do these things, but I didn't see anybody not coming out in the way that we do it. Everybody do it. Everybody pass through these hard things. Why? Because there's the right support. We're there for whatever the people need, even for leaving the people doing their process in a proper way, with respect, with space, with love, with care, that they know that we are here for whatever they need, and also respecting the autonomy in the process of healing. I think this is an element, a value that we work with Kat a lot in our spaces, autonomy. The people need to be able to pass through the things. So then they accomplish something. They say, I can do this. I can do the hard things also, not only the easy, funny, fast things. I can do the hard, long, slow movement stuff also, and I can continue developing my life. So,
and also there's the element of like, that's why the context is so important. You know, you hear in modern day this idea of like set and setting. Well, ayahuasca is done in a very specific ritualistic setting where we spend years studying with our teachers to be able to guide people in a safe way, because it's big energy. It's really big, expansive energy, and it can get super overwhelming. And no matter how many tools you have, it's something that you can't navigate necessarily on your own. But we can create a context where we're moving the energy in a beautiful way, where we're using the songs and the different tools that we've learned that the medicine recognizes to create a safe and generally calm environment so that the person can find their own autonomy and their own empowerment to like move through whatever is coming up. What I was saying before also about the medicine being highly intelligent. So that's the difference between like a lot of chemical psychedelics and something like ayahuasca or other plant-based things. They have this intuitive intelligence where they know until where you're able to go. And that's also why it's important to have a guide, because you don't go open too much too fast, where then you're going to go home and be totally like, what do I do? You know, the beauty in the medicine is it only gives you what you're ready and able to hold. Sometimes that can still feel really disruptive to your life and overwhelming when you get home. That's why integration is such an important part of the process. We always say like the ceremony starts after the ceremony. And so it's important to set yourself up with other tools and methodologies to support you in navigating and integrating what opened for you. But you know, also sometimes it does get a little messy afterwards, because you have to make some big transitions and shifts in your life, because once you see things, you can't unsee them. We always say like, once you open the door, it's, you know, you can't close it. You saw what you saw, but it's also a process. So like nothing completes necessarily in the ceremony. It's like, okay, what did you learn and how are you going to implement this in your everyday life? And that's where the change happens. And that part can get messy and confusing and overwhelming. And that's where proper guidance comes in. And as long as you've been in a safe and well-guided ceremony, you can usually smoothly, if not a little emotionally, navigate afterwards. So aftercare is a big part of the process too. Yeah.
And it seems like that some of the ways that you guys are doing the aftercare are check-ins with the group that have kind of gone through together. There's processing during or after each of the ceremonies. Can you speak a little bit to the importance of those?
Yeah, so I mean, we call it integration. It's after each ceremony, like, so we always do 2 ceremonies. We never just do like one-offs, because the first one's kind of like cleaning the windshields, getting to know each other. The second one's we can run, we can fly, we can go deeper, you know? And so between each one, we do integration. The purpose being that it's super important to sometimes speak out loud or process what's happening in your experience. And also because when you share space with other people, you would be surprised that their experiences are very different, but there's so many similarities and patterns. And so speaking about it and allowing yourself to process gives you a little bit of a different perspective. And then it also helps us understand how to guide you both before, during, and after the ceremony. And then the integration afterwards, you know, we are always available. We can only guide people as far as they're willing to go and engage, but, you know, we try to offer some tools, some spaces to talk and drop in to navigate what's coming up, honoring that everyone's process is different, but there are, you know, across the board tools and ways of approaching that will best support your integration. And, you know, like I said, we can only meet people as far as they're willing to go. Some people, we never talk to them again. That's very rare. We generally follow up if not, but it's really important because, you get so much information with the medicine, you can't always remember it all in the moment. So like over time, sometimes over years, it unfolds. And then it's like, okay, now when I remember that, what am I going to do with it? So that's the community aspect of what we do. Like this is traditionally done in tribes. We try to create a community around this so people feel like they're part of a sacred family, where if something comes up 3 months later, they know they can come and like drop in with us and process it. It's not like, okay, we never talk to you again type of thing. That's a big part of why it's important to feel like you're in a context where you're held much beyond the ceremony.
Yeah, we try to create like environment we call the family of the medicine, no? An environment where everybody's invited to come, with their own will and understanding that it's a process to growing the consciousness. So there's going to be changes, there's going to be movements. But that's the reason for us it's so important, this family of the medicine, no? To have this support.
And oftentimes, like many alternative methods like breath work, yoga, people who already have these modalities or a therapist, something in their life, have a toolkit of wellness tools and mindfulness tools, they are best able to navigate. So we try to give people entrances to these tools so that they can find ways to move through the big emotions.
Yeah, that's my next question. Who is a good fit for this work? Is it people who are coming already from understand or are already doing personal development work and they've had some of these experiences with yoga and with breath work? Does it matter how much trauma they've had?
Okay.
We find that you can go deeper faster often if you already have wellness tools or mindfulness tools or just some consciousness about your body, how it works, or if you're a spiritual person, for example, oftentimes you can drop in faster. But I always say this work is for everyone. You go as far as you're ready to go, but the most important thing when people come in really with like, for example, maybe a lot of trauma and no like support around them, we're first gonna work with them to set up some support and some tools. We may suggest like a private ceremony where we can really like track their experience with them. There's different levels of ceremonies as well in terms of like deep personal healing versus collective healing. But really anyone can come to these spaces and learn. And sometimes coming to like a ritual and a ceremony that has a beautiful ceremonial context can actually be a catalyst for someone's journey into these other modalities, And so it's kind of like there's not one or the other. The most important is that someone really wants to make change. Like they want to heal, change, vision forward. If you're coming because I don't know, your partner invited you and you don't really know, that's not a good fit. It's usually like you've tried a lot of different things, nothing seems to make the shift, and you really sincerely want to make the change and want to take responsibility for that process. Those are the people, because you're going to take your process seriously, and then you are generally going to seek out the tools to support you if you don't already have them. I don't know if you want to add.
Yeah, I think the only complicated thing that I've been seeing is the people that is just to do it, like they really don't have
See
it
what happens.
to see what happened, I want to see what happened. Oh, you will see what happened. It's a bit hard what happened, so it's better to be prepared for that what happened. So yeah, I think if the person have the will of healing, if they want to do it, the doors are open and the space is open for the support, for sure.
But for example, if someone doesn't have any context around this, I wouldn't necessarily say like go to the Amazon, and sit in a master plant dieta. It's like there's stages of getting into it that can be gentle, and like then if you want to go deeper in the process, you need a little bit of experience and context.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that we talked about in my ceremony was that that even though I was open, I was having some resistance, and I was in my mind and not in my body. And so consequently, once you mentioned that to me, because my first night was more mild, then I was able to go into my body and I was able to, I think, connect more with the medicine, and I had a more meaningful experience the second night. So I really appreciate the guidance that you offered on that.
Mhm.
So I don't know a lot about what different people think about ayahuasca, like in the regular community, but what are some of the myths or misconceptions where people are like, oh, ayahuasca is this, but it's really not?
Mm. Well, there's a what, I didn't understand. ¿Puede responder?
Sí, como los mitos sobre la medicina que no son verdaderos. Um, there's a lot of things people will say, like it's crazy and people get wild and it's like you're never going to be able to come back into your body. Like you hear a lot of crazy things, you know, that it's witchcraft, depending which culture you're talking to. That's why the context is so important. Like, yes, it's huge energy. This is like, it's a beautiful energy. It's a huge energy. There's this also misconception that it's really like has to be super hard and painful and full of like suffering. And I think that's just a reflection of our context in our society, that we believe like everything has to be hard. Like we have disconnected from our joy, in my opinion, and we've disconnected from the earth and the beauty all around us. Like we're so overstimulated that we're looking for these like crazy experiences, you know, and I often find people miss the subtleties of the medicine. It is a big energy, and it also has many tiny, beautiful subtleties that can teach you much more than those like crazy visual experiences you may or may not have. So a lot of people think you're going to be totally out of body, like, you know, like wild visuals. You're going to be doing things that you didn't you're not going to remember the next day, that are embarrassing, and all these different things. Yes, that can happen if it's not a well-facilitated experience. We've never had any of those things really happen in our spaces because we serve with a lot of love. I think, you know, there's a lot of myths, like it can be joyful too, and we show that to people in their experiences, kind of what you spoke about, you know, we lead you from your head to your heart. So if you can get out of the head and the thinking and all the expectations of what you think it should be, and you get into your heart space, you know, you can have this beautiful embodied experience, maybe with visuals, maybe with not, but a really true knowing of yourself in a way you never did before, and a knowing of the way the earth and the plants hold us and guide us in unseen ways. But you know, this idea of it being you being stuck in that space is not, it's not possible. You know, it's like any other substance. Our body eventually like processes it out, and you come back into your body, and you know, you have to find your ways to process through whatever you learned, but you're not going to be stuck in this psychedelic space or something like that. I don't know if you want to answer.
Yeah, I think there's so many intentions that people do in the Amazon rainforest, no, the different tribes. They have different purposes and meanings for the medicine. And when you take out these medicines from the context, it can create some issues, several issues. I think one of the most important issues is what I've been seeing in medicine is the bypassing, you know, bypassing basically the medicine. This is one of the main concerns that I've been seeing, people that feel that I'm better than you because I drink medicine. These kind of things I've been seeing.
Spiritual bypassing.
Spiritual bypassing. This is what I've been seeing a lot. And I think we're all in a process. We're all doing something. We're all processing something. Nobody have all the problems in their lives resolved. We're all passing through something. And this is something that create the unity in the family of the medicine to get over these things also. And also for the people that get a bit complicated in the medicine, being there for them, you know, so they can continue their healing process that they already started.
Yeah, and you know, this medicine is prepared in a way, like Francisco kind of alluded to it, but when you cook the medicine, all these things, it's like a multi-day process in a ritual with specific chants, prayers, all these things, all this energy put into it. And so again, sourcing is super important, knowing who you're sitting with, knowing where they're sourcing their medicine. You don't have to know where they're sourcing. You just kind of need to trust and know their path and know that they've studied and that they're connected to good teachers, you know, indigenous wisdom holders, that they have gone to the Amazon and learned from the source. And in that way, I think you avoid all these, you hear a lot of crazy things, and I'm not denying that they haven't happened to people, but I think it's because they're going to spaces where people are serving this and they don't know how to hold the energy. They've never gone and learned from the roots. And so it can get out of hand like anything, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my next question is, like what makes a good practitioner or somebody who's like providing or a guide who's doing this? So you kind of mentioned a few things. So it's the intention, it's the cultivation, it's creating the space, it's creating the safety. And you guys did this so wonderfully where I felt very held, where you guys are watching the whole room, making sure everybody's being taken care of, letting people have their own process. And then we could also come up to you guys if we had any issues while we were going through the process. Um, is there anything else around that? Like when people are looking for practitioners, obviously, I've had a great experience with you guys and I highly recommend you for anybody who's interested. But if they have access to somebody locally and they're like, oh, I want to go have this experience because I'm interested in working on myself, what sort of things should they be looking for in this practitioner, in this guide?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Super good, because I think we go to the main core and root of why, for example, myself, I'm doing this. Um, Basically, you have to lead by exampling. So the person that is telling you things to do, you have to see their lives also, their personal lives, how the things are going over there. Because it's super easy to speak, it's super easy to speak, it's super easy to, tell the people what to do and you don't do it. Then it doesn't have any weight. The person is not going to do it because they see your example. Want it or not, our bodies recognize the other person as a leader, as a friend, as a different kind of things. And a leader need to have some qualities, and in this you need leadership. Totally, you need to be able to show up for the people, to be there, to call, even if if I feel something that the people is passing through something complicated, I call. I have no embarrassment of doing these things. I know it's something complicated sometimes in Western society to show yourself a bit vulnerable. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of that. I really want the healing of the people. I think it's super important leading by example. Ask the person questions, like how are you dealing with your things, because everybody's dealing with something. There's no rock stars here. There's nothing, no one over anybody. There's no hierarchy in this. We're all in the same, passing the same stuff. And I think this define a good person, someone that is doing their own process, someone that takes serious this process, and the people that is serving this should be a path. I've been doing a lot of changes in my life, strong changes. I used to be dedicated to do marketing. I used to be, working in law. I used to be working in different things, video filmmaking, and I have to do some efforts in my life to be more focused in this, to be more aligned with my values, the value of the family, my value of the respect, being respectful, being honest, saying the truth. So hard in these times to have these values, but I've been committed since 14 years to just to these two values, and this took me to this path basically of medicine, where I have to develop these values, because these values you practice in society. It's easy to be respectful with some people, but with other people we're not respectful. Then we're not totally respectful. So
Integrity.
we need to have integrity. We cannot be doing double life. We say something, we do something different. That's
Yeah,
complicated.
it's a spiritual path. So like when Francisco's like, you have to look at someone's life, be like, how are they living their life? It's integrity in what you say. If you're serving the medicine, it's like we prepare for like before the ceremonies energetically, like we can't be out doing certain things. There's a whole process of preparation as a facilitator. And so you can, as you talk to someone, you can see like, are they taking this seriously? Are they energetically preparing themselves to hold a clean space? What are their relationships with other people? Like, of course, everyone has disagreements, but how is that navigated is their respect, is their integrity. And also, I mean, one of the biggest things too is, but not enough. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that go study with maestras in the Amazon, but then get lost in their normal day lives. It's like, are they learning from the roots? Are they carrying a tradition? I think being tied to a tradition keeps you kind of in that spiritual line where you have the tools to properly guide someone. Like I said, this is not from our Western context. So there are particular tools that we need to use in a ceremonial space, energetic spiritual tools that we wouldn't necessarily have if we never went and learned these things. And then also adapted them. They're like, you know, in the Amazon, it can be a little rough, like very tough love. So it's like we take this and with a lot of love, adapt it to Western society so that people feel safe when they receive these ways of being guided, so they can really drop their defenses and have their process. So looking for those type of things, asking the right questions, asking the facilitators, asking people who've sat with them. Yeah.
Yeah, I was recommended by somebody to you guys who I respect and I value his opinion. And so I think that was comforting for me. Because I had also felt called to the medicine, which I want to talk about in a second. And so it was something that I was interested in doing, but I had concerns. And so I really needed it to be in the right context. And I wanted to make sure that it was safe. So can you talk a little bit about feeling when someone feels called to the medicine and what that means?
Mm-hmm.
You want to?
I'll share a little and then, yeah. Usually when you feel called, it's like this just inner knowing. Like, it's funny, you could be around people talking about it. You could be around a whole community. You hear the word ayahuasca everywhere now, but there's not like a ping. When you feel called, there's like a ping, like it's an undeniable, it's not a curiosity, like, I wonder what would happen if I took this. It's the intelligence of the plant calling you because your soul needs to go on a journey, a spiritual, energetic, physical, mental, emotional journey to learn something, to improve your life, to release something. And so when you do feel the call, that's it's a deep intuition, which can also help you when you're looking for spaces. Like, I remember the first time I felt the call, I was living in the hotbed of the medicine, and I went to many different spaces and I walked out of many different spaces before sitting my first time. So it's really listening. Like, just because I feel a call doesn't mean this is the right space. It's like you find the practitioners and the spaces that resonate with your soul. And so it's a very intuitive process, or someone you trust and you watch their process. And so I don't know if you want to add something.
Yeah, I think you said it pretty well. You know, this call that we see is that sometimes, you know, there's people that everybody's drinking ayahuasca around them and they don't feel the call. There's people that even works in retreat of ayahuasca and they don't drink the medicine, they just prepare the food. You know, it can go deeper in not feeling the call. Now there's an indirect call, direct call, you know, like I think when it's super close, you have someone that is suggesting you that you respect, highly respect. I don't know. Also, most of the people come like honestly, the people that come for healing, because there's two main things, no, healing and looking for purpose. These are the two things, healing deep trauma and people that want to find something to do in life, a goal, something in life. I think the people that come for trauma, they want to, you know, get over these things, you know, and they want to pursue a life. And this is the second step, no? And where we start to pursuing something in life.
And they recognize it's deeper, like they can't just do it and talk. Like they recognize the tools, the things they've been trying aren't working. So they're called to something that's going to take them in a deeper journey that they can't access in this realm. Like that they have to kind of get out, like change their point of view, like zoom out and change the angle, you know?
Yeah. Also, always is going to appear fear, you know, because fear is when it's not in the comfort zone, it's not in the comfort area of our lives, something that we want to do or we want to experience. At the moment, is going to appear the fear. This is not an indicator of not feeling the call. This is an indicator of this is out of my comfort zone. What is good? So then we have to see the other elements, because sometimes out of fear we just block and we say no, and then it's complicated. Maybe you're feeling the cold, but the fear is just blocking it, and the fear is not related with that because you don't know anything about that. So it's a fear that it doesn't have any solid statements in an experience. So it's just fear for fear. So sometimes the fear block these things, but the medicines start to call you in that way. And also it's a need, people that really need these deep healings, and ayahuasca is now it's a much more real possibility to start to do these experiences, no?
Mhm. Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you said that, Kat, when you were talking about like going deeper, a way that you can access it in other ways, because oftentimes, people will do talk therapy, which can help you to a certain degree, and then meditation and mindfulness and maybe some other somatic practices, and that'll help you to a certain degree. But that, this has a way of opening things up that potentially you can't go in other directions. So thank you for saying that.
Mhm.
So we're just about out of time here, but I did want, if you wanted to touch quickly on the Alma en Tierra project that you guys are working on, I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
You want to talk?
Sure. Yeah, alma y tierra means soul and earth in Spanish. You know, we understand the personal healing journey is super important, and that's why we do the work that we do, to make bigger change in the world. It starts with us and then ripples out from there. And so if we want to, make those changes, we want to provide spaces for people who sincerely want to change their lives, change themselves, and then create a more beautiful, harmonious world. That being said, there's this idea in the Western culture, like everything's for me, it's my process. It's very extractive. And the whole world view in the Andean Amazonian culture where we've studied and immersed ourselves for many years is that there's this idea of sacred reciprocity. We give and take. We always give more than we take. There's this constant back and forth. And so we understood when we first started this journey that we really wanted to honor the wisdom holders. And we are actually called by political and spiritual leaders from the Amazon pretty early on in our process of working together to help support them with their true and real needs. Yes, they're these beautiful spiritual wisdom holders who make the sacred medicines, provide healing spaces, and provide it to go out into the world as well for people like us to be the bridges. But, they have real potent needs like fresh drinking water, more housing, being able to, they were cut off from their lands and then reunited with their lands and also their autonomy. And so being able to, again, like produce their own food and a diversity of food source. And so in Peru, this isn't as big of an issue because the tribes are kind of recognized and protected by the government to some degree. In Brazil, it's a bigger issue. So we decided to, collaborate with these chiefs, these people that were calling us to build something beyond ourselves. And this was our way of honoring and giving back and supporting and growing together and bringing these medicines out to the world. So Alma y Tierra projects have taken on many different forms, but the idea is we co-create and collaborate with villages, with spiritual leaders, with different institutions to support projects that we feel are going to help keep these sacred medicines alive and also to keep the people that are the original holders of them in safe and protected environments so they can continue to live and thrive as we receive and benefit from their healing modalities in our modern world. And like I said, those projects take many different forms. I don't know if you want to add something.
Yeah, I think the most important part in Alma Tierra project that we've been doing in Brazil, Peru, United States, in different places, no? I think is the values, like the practice of values. This is the most important thing. Because we respect so much the leaders that we work with is that the reason that we've been contributing in development of different villages over there. Also by taking them and show this beautiful work to the world, so people can see this in the not only in Brazil, because it's super complicated to go there and get to know these people. Not everybody have the time, resources, or will to do the things. So I think the value of respect is super important. Honesty, we are super honest in what we're doing. Open hands, to receive the people, so the people can do their own process.
But we want them to see that the process is, yes, personal and so important, but there's also something so much bigger
Exactly.
beyond them
Yeah.
that gets to be honored when we use these beautiful plants to heal ourselves. We also have a whole planet and a rainforest to support, and the
Exactly.
people, not just the plants, the people that are the guardians of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as we take care of them here in the physical aspect, they take care of us in the astral. So that's the reciprocity that we do with our teachers. Yeah.
Beautiful work. I so appreciate everything that you guys are doing. That project sounds amazing. The retreats are amazing. I'm so grateful for the experience that I had and for you sharing everything today. And so we're going to put a link if people are interested in connecting with you. We'll put that in the show notes down below this video or around this podcast somewhere, so that people can connect with you. Anything else you want to add before we adjourn today?
Thank you so much for sharing your experience and opening the space for us to share. We welcome anyone who wants to explore these beautiful plants and guides, and hausch, many blessings on your path.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
Thank you
Hausch,
very
hausch.
much. Hausch.
I hope you learned something on today's podcast. If you did, please share it with your friends and family and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It's really helpful for getting this information out to more people who desperately need it. Sharing all the experts I know and love and the powerful tips I have is one of my absolute favorite things to do. Thanks for being part of my community. Just a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional care by a doctor or other qualified medical professional. It is provided with the understanding that it does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services. Thanks for listening, and have an amazing day.